Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. And in 2 days' time, on Wednesday, Humza Yousaf will have been in position as First Minister for a year. It's his first year. Let's hope it's his only year, because I don't foresee him getting to the end of the second. Indeed, there's chances he may not get to the end of Easter. But, the longer he sits there, the better it is for the union, because more and more people will be driven away from the SNP, not paying their dues. He'll continue to alienate commercial sponsors and things like that. And eventually, of course, the SNP will fall and falter due to basically bankruptcy. And it goes to show that if they can't even run their own party without going bankrupt, it's no good trying to run a country or an economy. That's how bad these people are. They couldn't run a Welch stall. But we'll take a look at this. So his year, this lovely little article here, it's his year in office, and it's his year of unmitigated failure and disaster. One after another, lurching from one failure to another disaster, to a complete farce, to a show of ineptitude, to choosing the wrong people for the wrong job, and then blaming everyone else. It was always Westminster's fault, wasn't it? Here goes. So Humza Yousaf marks his first anniversary in office, but will he be getting a second one? I doubt very much. I cannot foresee him staying on much longer. We want him to, of course we do, for the good of the union. But for the good of Scotland, do you need him to stay there, or does Scotland need someone better? The problem is, if you do go with Kate Forbes, she will strengthen the party. She will bring people back. And that may even stop them from going bankrupt. So, you've got to be very careful what you want. But anyway, as the SNP leader prepares to celebrate the end of his first 12 months in the role, we look back at the trail of unmitigated disasters in his wake and ask whether Scotland can afford another year with Humza at the helm. Well, as we know, it's only going to get worse and worse, and the longer he's there, the worse it's going to get. But it's also the worse it's going to get for him and for the SNP. And so the longer he's there, as we move towards the election, the better, because there'll be fewer and fewer people willing to vote for him. They'll have fewer and fewer parliamentarians after the election, less money coming in, skint, bankrupt, foreclosure of debt, and eventually the winding up of the party. That, of course, will be the ultimate humiliation. His title will be Humza the Last. She wanted to be Queen Nick. Unfortunately, that was never going to happen. But we could have Humza the last leader of the SNP. Social media is awash with threads and posts about the worst anniversary ever. But there can be very few people who can compete with Humza Yousaf for the sheer awfulness of their first year. Well, I suppose the only thing you could compare his first year in charge with is his time as Health Secretary, Justice Secretary, Transport Secretary. They were all unmitigated failures as well. So he should be used to it, you'd think. Anyway, on March the 27th, 2023, he won the SNP leadership contest by the narrowest of margins from Kate Forbes. 26,032 votes to 23,890. This close shave was despite the fact he was Nicola Sturgeon's chosen one, and he had the full weight of the party machine behind him. Imagine if he'd have lost with all that. That really would have been a kick in the teeth. Forbes, who is far more talented politician, lost by just 2,142 votes. Hollywood rivals breathed a huge sigh of relief at her defeat, although I'm sure she'll be back to lead the Nats before the next Scottish election. She's already on manoeuvres. She's calling out her rival's lack of a big vision. Oh yes, we did that video. She is undoubtedly kicking off her leadership. She's trying to sort of position herself now. She must, in order to have said that, she must have a power base. She knows it. Everyone knows it. It's just a case of finding the battle with which to start the war. Thanks to those few thousand SNP members, however, Scotland is saddled with a First Minister who lacks not only vision, but honesty, integrity, wit, personality, intelligence and empathy. He lacks everything. Certainly got no political nous. The celebrations began on Sunday with a press release, from the Scottish Government that began, "Fairness is at the heart of everything that Scottish Government does." First Minister Humza Yousaf said he looks forward to his first anniversary in post this week. Everyone else knows it's his only one. However, in the word soup which followed, it was impossible to discern any tangible achievements from his first 12 months, apart from one, the council tax freeze, which has been described as one of the worst disasters and worst decisions he could have made. He's basically not helping the poor, is helping the rich, destroying services, and has broken the Verity House agreement. So going forward, he's going to have a hard time. This was a worthwhile policy in his mind, but it was, a very bad policy. It's got to be, anyway. The freeze harks back to Alex Salmond's first term in office, when the old Scottish executive, buoyed by the support of Baroness Goldie and her Scots Tories, actually did some things that benefited ordinary people, rather than just massage the egos of the privileged, the liberal, the nationalist elite. Aside from this, the past year has been an utter unmitigated disaster for the SNP. Within weeks of Yousaf taking over, the party was plunged into crisis with the arrest of Peter Murrell and Colin Beattie. And only those two at the time seemed odd, and not at the same time. They should have arrested everyone involved at the same time, separate rooms, and questioned them. Boom, 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 boom. Who said what said where. And then got them. None of this, let's have time to get our story together, let's hide evidence and all that. The very fact that happened suggests the police are in cahoots. Worse was to follow, of course, with Sturgeon was arrested. The case is still very much alive, but suffice to say that whatever happens, there will be no more from this particular story, and not just because the cash-strapped SNP wants its camper van back from the police. Meanwhile, much of 2023 saw Hollywood wreathed in tire smoke from a succession of screeching U-turns on any number of disastrous and ill-thought-out policies. Yes, the deposit return scheme, highly protected marine areas, and the ban of alcohol advertising, and so on. Indeed, nothing. They have achieved nothing. The only policy he's going to get through is going to be the hate crime bill, and we know how bad that is, and we're already going to break that. We know we're going to win that one. So that's another thing that'll be reversed, and humiliating him. Man's a failure, isn't he? Anyway, most of these things had one thing in common. They'd all been designed in tandem with the Scottish Greens. And this coalition presents the most clear and present danger to Yousaf's premiership. The SNP backbenchers hate the deal, and they realise that most voters cannot stand the Greens either. But Yousaf is locked into the Butte House agreement. Well, he doesn't have to be, but he nailed his colours to the mast, and now he can't be seen to walk away. Otherwise, it looks like he's got something else wrong. He's done another U-turn. He's failed again. And he doesn't like the idea of being seen as being a failure. Well, I've got news for you, Humza. It's way too late. That boat has sailed. Moving into the autumn, we finally saw the real Humza Yousaf, the Michael Matheson affair. It could have been avoided if not for the First Minister's arrogance. And the war in Gaza provided voters with a first glimpse of the SNP leader with real fire in his eyes, as he wants to screw over the Scottish people and bring in millions of Gazans to make Scotland less white. Of course, we all know how he feels about that. And of course, giving all that money to to UNRWA, as he called it, or Hamas as we call it. Some people said it was a gift, some said it was international development, some said it was international aid, and some described it as paying the ransom. But we'll never know, will we? Anyway, this fire has been more and more evident of late, not least during his distasteful, truly disgusting rhetoric about making Scotland free of Tory policies, ideas and values. This is the speech of a dictator who wants to eradicate whole swathes of people. By Tory values, he surely can't mean tax cuts that disproportionately affect the wealthy, such as freezing council tax, can he? And if the SNP values include imposing draconian restrictions on the freedom of speech, as we're about to see when the Hate Crime Act is enforced, then I'm glad that we don't all share them. There are 700,000 people in Scotland with Tory values. He would like them all gone, one way or the other. I'm coming up. He's a truly loathsome, racist, hate-filled, anti-Scottish, anti-British piece of human filth. He has no compassion. He has no reverence for culture. His loyalties do not lie within the borders of either Scotland or Great Britain. They lie elsewhere. And he has little regard for the rule of law. He lies. He covers up others' criminality. He makes excuses for all sorts of awfulness. He will never admit his own failures. He will never reverse his own wrong decisions. And he is, I think, a clear and present danger to everyone in Scotland. And let's just be thankful that he does not have his finger on any nuclear trigger. He would use it. Sad day. But for him, he gets his first little taste of joy. A year in charge. Enjoy it, Humza. It's the only one you're going to get. Thank you very much for watching. That is the end of today's long forms. Do definitely hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment. And I will see you later. We'll start again tomorrow. Bye.